How you doing, everybody? It's a Sunday, relatively peaceful day. I thought, why not have a bit of controversy? Okay, liven up the day a little bit. So I decided to make this video. I was going to do it as a live. Unfortunately, there's a lot of noise going on. I live in a block of flats. Upstairs have got their kids for the weekend and they're making a lot of noise. So I'm going to have to do this as a recorded video that I can edit out as much of the noise as possible. So if you're watching this video, one of four things are going to happen. You're either going to subscribe to the channel, you're going to unsubscribe, you're going to stay subscribed, or you're simply not going to subscribe at all and you're going to move on. And do you know what? I'm absolutely fine with that, because you've all got the right to make those choices and live with them. Also, I can handle my emotions, so I'm just going to simply get on with my life and not even, give it a second thought. I just wanted to talk about one of the videos that I uploaded the other day called "The Justice System is Broken." I made a statement in that video when speaking about a woman called Kate Scotto, who had been arrested and held for several hours simply because she misgendered somebody online or dead named them. I simply said that if somebody has a strong view or belief, then they should be allowed to express that view or belief without fear, the way that transgender activists do, or any of the multiple religious activists or preachers share their opinions and beliefs. It can't be okay for some groups of people to do this and not okay for others. Now, people can do all sorts of things these days. They can refer to themselves as whatever they like, whether that's their name, their religion, or their gender. But how can it be right for the police to go and arrest somebody for expressing their opinions and beliefs when there are kids being stabbed in the streets that need dealing with? This country has gone soft. Somebody calls you a name, you get over it and get on with your life. At least that's what I was taught as a kid. I get called all sorts of things on this channel, as you've probably seen in the comments, and I hear a lot of different opinions and views. But I don't go running to the authorities shouting malicious communications, because quite simply, they've got better things to be doing with their time. The only time I've made an attempt of speaking to the police about comments on my videos was for a bunch of comments a month ago that I believed to have been made by police officers, which to this day, 4 weeks later, I'm still waiting for the inspector to call me back to discuss it. My point is that the legal system and the policing system is fucked. They're far too worried about people's feelings and not worried enough about actual real crimes. The ones, where somebody is actually hurt, killed or stolen from. Now, before anybody says in the comments that, people's feelings can be hurt, they're feelings. They are not a physical thing. It's not like being smashed in the head with a hammer or stabbed. Who remembers this from their childhood? Sticks and stones may break our bones, but names will never hurt me. This is what we were told as kids, from parents, from teachers, and even the police. Miss, somebody just called me a hurty word. Yeah, and ignore it. Move away from them. Don't talk to them. Just get on with your life. So what has happened to this country? The dictionary definition for feelings is as follows: an emotional state or reaction, a belief or idea, especially a vague or irrational one. The very definition of feelings is a reaction or a vague or irrational idea or belief. So these things cannot be hurt. And so to call the police because somebody said a hurty word online, or even in the real world, or said something that you don't agree with, is completely ridiculous and directly results in less police to deal with real crimes. For example, I was told the other day in a comment that trans people being called the wrong gender is really bad. It's basically on par with saying somebody's colour. The problem is we all have a colour. I'm white. Well, in the summer I have a nice olive glow, but I'm white. That's the colour of me. I can't do anything about it. I've lived with it all my life. And if somebody called me whitey or honky, or anything else for that matter, it wouldn't stop me in my tracks. The same as I've had people call me gay and faggot in the past. Did it bother me because I'm not gay and I'm not a faggot? Hell no. I simply got on with living my life, which unfortunately seems impossible for many people who seem intent on making a fuss about their choices, because people are making others feel bad for their decisions to share their opinions and their views all the time. I seriously don't think that society in general actually give a damn about people's choices, but it's because some of them make such a big song and dance about it that you're inevitably going to get other people's opinions. We all have the right to do what we want, providing it doesn't harm somebody else physically. The problem starts when people making a fuss about it. I mean, just do it and get on with it. Want to be a Scientologist? Go for it. Want to be Jewish or Buddhist? Knock yourself out. You want to call yourself Victor Strangelove McSlippyfist or Lance Thruster or Sassy Fuzzy Nuts? Be my guest. And if you want to identify yourself as any of the 50 or more gender identities, great. Good for you. I'm happy for you. But do people really have to make such a big fuss about it and then use the police force and criminal justice system to punish those who simply don't agree with you just for sharing their own personal beliefs and opinions? I changed my name over 20 years ago. It used to be Victor Strangelove McSlippyfist. But you know what I did to celebrate that fact? I used it. Plain and simply, I used it. I didn't tell anybody that didn't need to know. And when I was called by my original birth name, I simply said, actually, I've changed it and it's now XYZ. I didn't go to the newspapers or the police and tell them that I'd been misidentified as my former self and that I now want the person to have a criminal record for it. It's a complete abuse of the system, and it's what's tying up policing, and it's not the only thing, but it's contributing to tying up real policing and the real criminal justice system as it should be working. Take this example. I no longer want to be classed as a human being. I'm going to think up my own class of species and identify myself as that. But I will then prosecute anybody who misidentifies me, and I'll go on the telly and tell everybody how bad they are for not calling me by my newly identified species. Then I'll sue them, get them all arrested, and give them all criminal records if they ever refer to me as my previous pronoun or identification. Can't you see how ridiculous this is? So many people go on about equal rights for religion and gender, for example, but yet constantly segregate themselves from the rest of society by making a fuss over their choices rather than just getting on with their lives. How can there be equal rights when by the very nature of those choices, you're separating yourself from society at large? I personally couldn't give a shit what people want to call themselves. I simply think that they should just get on with their life and stop using the hurt feelings card for attention and just let the world keep turning. The police have far better things to be doing with their time. And as for the courts and criminal justice system, well, I just think that they need to consider getting their own house in order before passing judgment on how other people live their lives. Now, if after that you can't see how crazy and soft this world has turned, then I genuinely feel sorry for you. Social conditioning has brought this about because we let these things happen. And because we let them happen, they're simply going to get worse. I mean, do people of religion, gender identity or political persuasion not care about kids being stabbed in the streets? Because it seems that many are happy to allow possibly hundreds of police officers, maybe thousands, to get paid to sit in front of a computer all day long rather than be out on the streets actively preventing crime. South Yorkshire Police in 2018 said the following: non-criminal incidents can feel like an offence to the victim. I mean, non-criminal incidents. So if it's non-criminal, why the fuck are the police spending tens of thousands of pounds on paying officers to deal with non-criminal offences or incidents? Get out on the fucking street and do your job. And as for those who call the police because somebody's said a hurty word, or somebody's called them, Christian rather than Jewish, or somebody's called them, bisexual instead of gay, or whatever it might be, well, you're just as bad as the actual police because you're enablers. It's people like that that take the police away from dealing with real, actual crime. Like people being burgled, stabbed, raped, assaulted and murdered. If you identify as Catholic, then go to a Catholic church. If you identify as Jewish, go to a synagogue. You're not going to open your own places of worship just because you've swapped from being a Christian to another religion, for example. And it's the same as gender. If you want to be a woman, then be a woman. If you want to be a man, then be a man. But just do it. Just get on with it. By creating all these pronouns, 50 or more, you're ultimately identifying yourself as different and creating that debate yourself, which you clearly know is going to get other people's reactions, their opinions and their views. Where does common sense come into all of this? And how can you comfortably live with yourself calling the police to have someone arrested, given a criminal record, because you don't agree with their words or their beliefs or views, because you want to create a debate and segregate yourself from the rest of society? Do what you want, but just get on with it. If religious people, trans people, political persuasions stopped making such a fuss and trying to force the topic of how they are different, then I seriously think most people would just ignore it and go about their lives too. Now, before I start getting all the hate comments, don't worry, I won't phone the police on you. This video is not about gender, race or religion. I was simply using those as examples. This is about how the criminal justice system and the policing system is failing society at large. If I went up to a police officer in the street and said, "Excuse me, officer, that bloke over there just called me a big girl's blouse," I would expect him to do the right thing and tell me to grow up, get over it and get on with my day, walk away, leave him. But this is why there's such a big problem. Because although I would expect him to say that to me, other people wouldn't, and other people would push and push and push until the police took action because somebody said something they don't agree with. Anyway, rant over. I'm going to go and cry myself to sleep now over the hurty words people are going to leave me in the comments. Boo-hoo. But there we go. I mean, it's just my views. Again, people will either agree with me or disagree with me, and that is fine. Absolutely have no problem with that at all, okay? Debate is healthy. Call me what you like. The only thing I don't agree with is inciting violence, okay? But other than that, I think free speech, freedom of expression, I don't see why people have got such a problem with it. We never used to have this problem. I really wish we could have a snapshot of, say, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and have a snapshot of how life was then and compare it with now, like getting two photographs of the same place and see how different one is from the other. I really wish we could do that. And I think people would see just how stupid that their behaviour can be. I understand that if somebody is of a certain race or of a certain gender or of a certain religion, I understand that you've got pride in that, but that's for you to deal with. That's for you to live with. That's your pride. You don't have to force those opinions on other people, but then when other people try and offer their opinions and views, use the police and criminal justice system. If people used the police and criminal justice system for what it was intended for, which is actual real crimes, then more real crimes would actually be getting prevented. That's it. That's all I'm saying on the matter. Last thing though, I do want to direct you to a video that Fluke Dog made the other day. It's almost an addendum, if you like, to my video, The System is Broken. Very, it's got very informative. It's got some great points in there as well. Some parts that I didn't talk about in my video, but he's explaining it in his video. So I encourage you to go over and check that out. I think it's about 10 or 15 minutes long or so. But please show some love and do that for us, and I'd appreciate it. So I'll link to that in the description. Other than that, take care, people, and I'll see you next time.